We'll start with the NFL. Big news, as you know, the Ohio State loses to Michigan. Big news, unranked team loses to the top two team in the country. They'll be on in the playoffs, but it's probably sure not the way they want to end the season. They'll also be in the Big 12 championship. Let's go to the NFL now. Lions beat the Bears on disaster. Matt Eberflus was fired. They have yet to name their replacement. Cowboys beat the Giants, and Dolphins beat the Packers. And the Chiefs beat the Raiders. Chargers will have a tough one against Atlanta. Players to watch out for: Kirk Cousins, Najee Robinson, Daryl Money. That's for the Falcons. Justin Herbert. They'll rely on Gus Edwards and because he is out with an injury. Lad McCoy, wide receiver. Defense for the Chargers, Joey Bosa. And defense for the Falcons, Jesse Bates. The Falcons lead their division at 7-6. The Chargers are 7-4. The Falcons lead a bad NFC North at 7-6. The Chargers are 7-4. The Chargers are favored by 1. The Chargers will play the Chiefs next week. The Cardinals and Vikings get underway. Cardinals players, Kyle Murray is having a good season. James McConnor is having a good season. Trick McBride, the tight end, is also having a great season and leads the Cardinals in receiving. Vikings, Sam Darnold, who throws a lot of INTs but is a great player. Aaron Jones, running back. Justin Jefferson, wide receiver, the best in the league. That game kicks at noon. A Steelers-Bengals game. A Steelers lost to the Browns last week. Before that, the Ravens lost to the Steelers. But they only have 3 losses. That's good. They'll rely on the older Russell Wilson, and Najee Harris and George Perkinson will be all over the field. TJ Watt will be a player to watch out for. For the Vikings, it will be Daniel Hunter. Bengals, it will be Jamar Chase, Chase Brown. And the two Chases, Jamar Chase. A very inconsistent year for the Bengals. And a Bengal player to watch out for is Trey Hendricks. The Bengals are 4-7, and the Steelers are 8-3, +3 on the game for the Steelers. The Seahawks play the inconsistent Jets. The Seahawks, who have somewhat figured it out with just Geno Smith and had at least won games. He's not the best quarterback. He was the most improved player, but you got to be most improved to be bad at one point. Kenneth Walker and Josh Smith and Jogbu for the Seahawks. He has 755 yards. Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall, who is a quarter expected to play but questionable. Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner at the quarterback position. And also a good player at the defensive tackle position, Quinn Williams. That game kicks at 12 as well. The 7-5 Texans are the most 7-5 team ever. C.J. Stroud, running back Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, and defensive player Derek Stingley. For the Colts, best defender is DeForest Buckner. Jaguars, it's Trevor Lawrence, Tank Bigsby at the running back, Brian Thomas at the receiver, and Josh Allen is the best player on the defense, and he's one of the best in the game. Colts and Pats, we don't need to do that preview, but they will play each other at noon. Indianapolis favored by 2.5. Titans pulled up a win over the Texans. The Titans will play another game. They shouldn't win. Will Levis is looking better, though. Tony Pollard is looking really good. Calvin Ridley. The Titans just never seem to meet expectations, or they're just not very good. I think both. Jaden Daniels, rushing yard, Jaden Daniels leads them. Trey McClain leads the Washington football team. Washington is favored by 6. Kick is at noon. Buccaneers and Panthers, we don't need a preview. That game kicks off at 3:05. For the Saints in New Orleans, we really don't need to preview that game. The Rams are 5-6. The Saints are 4-7. That game begins at 3:05. For the game of the day, 3:25, it'll be the Ravens and Eagles, two of the best teams in the NFC and AFC. I'd say Eagles 2 and Ravens 3. The Eagles are the most talented team in the NFC, but are around probably the second best record. They need to make something out of their defense team. Watch out for quarterback Lamar Jackson, MVP type season. He's had 2. Derrick Henry has been the best combo in the AFC, and Zay Flowers is having a good season. Players to watch out for. Kyle Hamilton is also a player to watch out for in the Ravens. The Ravens are 8-4. The Eagles are right behind the Lions in the NFC, but they have the most talent, as I said. Jalen Hurts, who's having an inconsistent year, but also has lots of talent, obviously made it to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Saquon Barkley, they are becoming the best combo in the NFC. A.J. Brown, who's one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL. The Eagles have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Josh Sweats and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And that's it. Kick is at 3:05. The 49ers, who have been in the Super Bowls twice and failed to meet expectations all this season. Brock Purdy, who did last week, will start today likely. Jordan Mason, who's a running back. George Kittle, who's a wide receiver. If the 49ers are going to get in the playoffs, this is a must-win. Players to watch out for on the Bills, who I think the best team in the AFC are Josh Allen, James Cook, Kelly Shaquille. The Bills are 9-2 and currently hold the 2nd seed. And the Chiefs, of course, hold the 1st seed. And 49ers are 5-6. Kick is at 7:20. In college football yesterday, Kansas State loses to Iowa State. Iowa State wins their first 10-game season, but are out because BYU pulls off the win, going to the Big 12 Championship next week against Arizona State, another surprise team who take care of business over Arizona, 49-7. Tennessee beats Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt kind of got into the first quarter, but it was all volunteers after that. They led, in fact, after the first quarter, 17-7, but that was all Vols. Then after that, Tennessee will get a shot at the playoffs now since there's 12 teams. Tennessee hasn't won a championship since 1989. For the fight, Michigan, Ohio State, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're pacing my podcast at the end from yesterday. Here's a link to the fight. Of course, Michigan beat Ohio State 28. 13-10 was the final. 28-21. Luther Burden gets the last touchdown, but if he wants to be successful, I wouldn't draft him until the middle of the first round because he just talks and gets penalties. We'll see if he's a successful player. I lean maybe towards the other way if he becomes a distraction. Maybe he's not the successful player that everybody thinks he will be. Notre Dame pulls off a 21-7 win in the third quarter. Notre Dame pulls off a win, pulling away in the third quarter, 21-7. It was even in the fourth, but it was too late as Notre Dame won by 14. Jaden Price goes over 100 for the Irish. The Irish will be in the playoffs. Here's a link to their highlights. Alabama will likely be in the playoffs after their victory over Auburn, who was 5-7. Didn't play normally well. Played okay in the rivalry game, which every time it happens, they seem to show up. Alabama beats Auburn 28-14. That's Sam Vaughn for sports.